The year 2015 marked the 100th anniversary of the landing of the Anzac forces at Gallipoli during the First World War. Channel 9 here in Australia proudly announced the release of a mini-series made to commemorate the occasion, a series called Gallipoli. Here is its blurb. Thomas Johnson lies about his age so he can enlist with his brother Bevan, and ends up fighting at Gallipoli in the campaign that helped create the Anzac legend. So with such a lofty aim of marking the 100th anniversary of this cornerstone moment of Australian and New Zealand history, how did they do? Well, perhaps I can quote from the mini-series entry in Wikipedia. The series was a ratings disaster, described by David Gengill, head of Nine Entertainment at the time, as the network's biggest disappointment. Despite being launched as a flagship program for the network in 2015, Gallipoli lost half of its audience between the first and second episodes, down from 1.1 million to 580,000. In response, the network reduced the series schedule from 7 weeks broadcast to 5 weeks, with episodes 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 airing back to back. Ratings continued to fall. I was one of those people that bailed after the first episode. I remember it well. The series has just been put into the Netflix catalogue here in Australia, so I thought I'd have another go at it. Now, having sat through all 7 episodes, I can say that I wholeheartedly agree with my decision in 2015. So, what's so bad about it? Well, ultimately, I never once believed that I was watching soldiers on screen. I never got to that point where I was sucked in and my disbelief was suspended. I always had the feeling that I was watching actors play roles. And I think this was mostly down to the poor performances and terrible trying its best to tug at your heartstrings type dialogue. The other thing that I kept coming back to was that everyone was just too clean. Even towards the end, they did not by any stretch of the imagination look like men who'd been through 8 months of battle. There was talk about the rampant disease, but not one of them looked like they'd lost half their weight from brutal dysentery, which is what happened in the real world. Then there's the soundtrack. It's like they could only afford 2 pieces of music. There's the same god-awful, soppy 5-note piano piece that they play during dramatic scenes, and this odd brah type noise thing that they played during the battles. And speaking of battles, there's zero tension in them whatsoever. It's as though no thought went into showing you who was where and what the plan was. As if to prove this point, when they do finally do a good battle, the Battle of Lone Pine, the reason it was any good was because they actually showed a map and some terrain and explained what the plan was. The result was that when it all played out, you had an idea of what it was that was going on the screen in front of you. That 5th episode, as a result, is easily the best of all of them. But the most aggravating thing to me was that there was almost nothing shown of the New Zealand involvement in the campaign. There were no Kiwis until episode 4, when 2 men from the NZEF Wellington Battalion are briefly on screen, and only seen briefly after that. I guess the writers forgot what the NZ part of the ANZAC acronym stands for. Overall, it was boring, dull, and lifeless. As a grand tribute for the 100th anniversary, it falls very short of the mark. I guess this is what happens when you entrust a foundational story with B and C grade actors and a director of TV shows that you've never heard of.